Special effects. Hi, it's Nick Shell, the internet receding hairline guy. I guess I've sort of got a indirect sequel to a video I did a few weeks ago when I proposed this idea that what if I was paid $1 million but I would have to get a hair transplant. I mean, I've been wearing a hat all day, but in case you need to see my hair, I mean, that's the worst version of it because it's been under a hat, but you watch some other videos if you don't know what my hairline looks like, if this is the first video you're watching. But let's say that I got this hosting gig on TV and they're like, okay, this is working out for us, but your hair's kind of getting thin on top. We want you to do a hair transplant. We'll even take care of the cost, and your salary will be $1 million for next year. So yeah, I would do that under that circumstance. As you know from watching my videos, I personally am not in favor of getting hair transplant or any kind of cure to stop hair loss or fix it at all. Like, that's my own personal belief. People have got really upset of me about that, but I think these days I'm so libertarian. Anytime I even mention my opinion, I always follow it up with what I'm about to say right now. You do whatever's right for you. Whatever gives you peace inside of your heart, that's what you should do to make you feel better about yourself. For me, it doesn't require those things for me to have peace. I'm okay with losing all my hair and just being done with it. It's okay with me, right? I'll still be just as confident as I am now. So that wouldn't change for me. But some people need that, and I respect that, and I want them to do what makes them happy. But here's the irony in all this. If certain people need hair transplants and tattoo pigments and lotions and potions and creams and oils, whatever it takes to maintain it, if it takes that for people to feel confident about themselves, I'm not saying I'm better, I'm just saying I'm the opposite. Because check this out. If in this imaginary scenario in which I basically am paid money to get a hair transplant for whatever reason, here's what's weird about it. I would still not feel good about myself. I would then not feel good about myself. Whereas now I do feel good about myself. But if I had a hair transplant and then suddenly had like just the perfect head of hair, that's when my self-esteem would go down. So let's process that. So most people that get hair transplants, in my guesstimate here, do so to feel better about themselves, to boost their confidence, to feel good about themselves, right? It would do the exact opposite for me. It would, I promise you. Now, yeah, I would look in the mirror and think, hey, they did a good job. I look better with this hair transplant, or whatever procedure I got done. That's not in denial. That's not up for debate. I would look better with that if we could have just a perfect head of hair instead of this going on, right? But I wouldn't feel good about myself because fundamentally I'm going against my own beliefs. So for the rest of my life, I would, in that situation, I would now be, let's say, 10 years in the future, 45 years old, and thought, man, had I not had this hair transplant, then I would really have lost a lot of hair and really thinned out. But ultimately, I would know that in my heart it wasn't real. And I guess it's just hard for me to process that. I would feel like a phony, I would feel fake, and therefore I wouldn't feel like I'm being true to myself. So therefore, I would have a lower self-esteem and I wouldn't have the same confidence about myself if I did that. So I'm wondering if I'm the only one who's ever thought about this, or B, can anybody at all possibly relate to me on this one? Because I guess I'm learning a lot of guys that watch my channel don't even have hair loss. You may be my age with no hair loss, but you still watch my videos, and I think that's cool. I just didn't realize it till this week. But just imagine that with me though. Can you at least, here's why I'm really making this video. I'm just asking, can you relate to that thought? That's the whole point of this video. Can you relate to my mindset, which is the opposite from, I guess, what's supposed to be normal? Okay? So, can you relate to me in that I'm already fully confident and I don't have a full head of hair? And it's thin in the back too, right? Of course, the hat only makes it look worse than it actually is, but still, clearly, you can see there's hair loss. So can you possibly relate to me in that even with this going on, I'm as confident as I can possibly be in myself? And that if I got a hair transplant, my self-esteem would be lowered because I would feel untrue to myself. I would feel fake. I would feel phony. And even in the future, with a full head of hair at age 50 or 45 or whatever it was, I'd still think, this isn't me. This wasn't what was supposed to happen. I was supposed to go bald, and I was supposed to embrace that. And you can also imagine, as a YouTuber who specializes in building people's self-esteem despite hair loss, I would especially feel like a phony, right? Because then I'm going against my own message personally. Sure, I could help people from a whole new perspective on that, but that's all I'm asking of you today. I'm not asking you to tell me the pros and cons of hair transplants. Can you do that for me? Will you do that for me? Will you simply say, Nick, I can understand where you're coming from. I can get it that somebody like you who's already fully confident, their self-esteem would go down if they had more hair because it wasn't natural, because it was a cure, it was a hair transplant. It just didn't happen overnight, right? Like, if I have a full head of hair, it's got to be because that's how my genes were and it just happened that way. But I am not okay with having a full head of hair if it's not naturally occurring without human intervention. That's just me personally. So I fully accept the fact I'm the opposite of guys who get hair transplants. I get that. So this isn't a debate by any means. Remember what this is. Remember why I'm making this video. Remember what I'm asking of you today. The one and only question, the only thing I really want to know is, despite me being the opposite of everybody else in this, can you just understand where I'm coming from? Can you understand why a person like me, my self-esteem would go down if I got a hair transplant? So will you answer that one question for me? I know that's weird. I know that's a weird thing to ask. But does that at least make sense? Because ultimately, I think if you're able to get on the same page as me on that and understanding how my thinking works, that my self-esteem would go down if I got a hair transplant, that it also helps explain why there's so many men out there who also choose not to get hair transplants because they're already confident in themselves. Okay? So remember, I don't want to debate. I don't want to talk about should you or should you not get a hair transplant. I'm actually being selfish today. This is simply about me. Nick Shell is asking you, the viewer, a question. Can you simply understand or relate to the concept that I would have a lower self-esteem with a hair transplant? Instead, I will keep my high self-esteem by slowly going bald and losing my hair. That's what will keep my self-esteem going up. So, that's the one thing I ask you. Will you please just answer the question, and please not turn into debate, and please don't tell me why I'm a loser because I don't want a hair transplant and that I'm desperate and I'm bald. Like, I don't need all that. I don't want all the emotional stuff. I just want to answer this question. Like, I feel like a third of this video is disclaimers because I'm so fearful that people are going to misinterpret my entire question. All right, we can be mature about this, right? You can answer the one question I'm asking, right? All right, thank you. Thank you so much for understanding, because I think this is worth exploring, and we can make more videos and we can talk more about it. If you answer my one question, can you simply understand why a guy like me would get a lower self-esteem if I got a hair transplant? Because it's not real to me. That's the question. Can you relate to that? Can you at least understand that? Answer me that so we can move on. Please, will you do that? Thank you so much.